I had to renew something for myself on the way to speak to you about sexuality, intimacy, and relationship.
Takže na to, aby som mohol hovoriť o sexualite, o intimite a o vzťahoch, som musel niečo v sebe obnoviť.
And what I am discovering in this field is very exciting for me.
A to, čo zároveň pri tom, na tomto poli objavujem, tak je pre mňa veľmi vzrušujúce.
Completely connected to what we do here in psychophonetics counseling.
Je to úplne spojené s tým, čo my tu robíme v tomto psychofonetickom counselingu.
And so while I may go philosophical, esoteric, mythological, historical, for me it's never losing its connection to working with the human soul, because there's nothing small about the human soul. There's only small ways of thinking about it.
Čiže kým sa vlastne tak zaoberáme tak filozoficko, ezotericky smerom o tom counselingu, tak ja nikdy nestrácam kontakt s ľudskou dušou, pretože ohľadom ľudskej duše to je tak, že ona nikdy nie je malá.
And what has not been written and spoken and workshopped about sexuality in the last 50 years? What?
A čo sme vlastne ešte za posledných 50 rokov nepovedali, alebo nenapísali, alebo nehovorili o ľudskej duši? Čo?
Between the west coast of America and the east coast of Europe, everything was spoken, written, workshopped and talked about.
Medzi tým východným pobrežím, západným pobrežím Ameriky a východným pobrežím Európy už asi o všetkom sme rozprávali.
So what can I add to this?
Čo by som tak mohol k tomu dodať?
So I did what I normally do when I have to go deeper.
Takže ja som urobil to, čo normálne musím spraviť na to, aby som mohol ísť hlbšie.
Ancient mythology as modern psychology.
Tá starobilá mytológia, ktorá sa spája s modernou psychológiou.
Modern psychology, cutting edge psychology, go back to Greece.
Tá moderná psychológia, keď sa chcete naozaj sústrediť na modernú psychológiu, je dobré sa vrátiť ku starobilému Grécku.
You know, the Eskimos, they have 90 words for the color white.
Eskimáci majú veľmi veľa slov, ktoré sa týkajú bielej farby.
And the Arabs, Muslims, they've got 90 words for God.
A muslimovia majú obrovský počet slov, ktoré sa týkajú Boha.
And the Greek, they had at least 90 words for the word love.
A Gréci mali takto obrovsky veľa slov, ktoré sa týkajú lásky.
So we lost a lot.
Takže my sme veľa stratili.
But they understood the complexity of the topic and they become scientists of love and erotics and relationship and sexuality. Scientists.
Oni sa stali vedcami lásky, erotiky a vzťahov.
And we need some of it back.
A my potrebujeme, aby sa nám niečo z toho vrátilo.
Because in comparison to their sophistication and consciousness of sex and intimacy and love, we are so primitive, like mužiks trying to do academia.
A ohľadom na to, ako oni boli sofistikovaní ohľadom erotiky, sexuality, intimity, tak my sme tu takí mužíkovia, ktorí sa snažia o nejakú akadémiu.
And in my work with people, I work a lot with sexuality, relationship and intimacy.
A ja veľa pracujem s sexualitou a intimitou vo svojej práci.
And sometimes we run out of words. We've got about 3-4 words for this, with hundreds of phenomena which remain nameless.
A my vlastne často prídeme na hranicu toho, čo vieme pomenovať, pretože nemáme k tomu slova, že tu máme také fenomény, ku ktorým nám chýbajú slova.
Sex, no sex, love, no love, relationship, no relationship, this is very dull.
Sex, nie sex, láska, nie láska, vzťah, nie vzťah, to je naozaj také nefarebné.
The Greek had language for it.
Gréci mali na to jazyk.
We are not only developing when we are cultivating culture, we're also losing a lot. It's time to collect some of our spiritual heritage in relationship to sex, intimacy and relationship.
Je na čase, aby sme sa vrátili trošku k tomu, čo je naše duchovné dedičstvo vzhľadom k intimite, vzťahom a sexu.
You know, we lost a lot since the time of Greek and Rome.
Od čias Grécka a Rímu sme veľmi veľa stratili.
And we need some of it back because of our complexity of human relationship.
A potrebujeme niečo z toho, aby sa nám vrátilo kvôli tomu, aké komplexné vzťahy teraz máme.
Not everything we deal with in counseling has to do with relationship, love and sexuality. Not everything.
Nie všetko, s čím sa stretávame v tom counselingu, má čo dočinenia s vzťahmi, intimitou a sexualitou, samozrejme.
Only 75%.
Jehoda tak odhaduje, že tak 75% toho sa dotýka tejto témy.
Approximately.
Približne.
Sometimes 90.
Dokonca niekedy 90.
You can't get out of it.
Nedá sa tomu utiecť.
You better get into it.
Tak radšej by sme sa do toho mohli ponoriť.
You scratch the surface of human psyche, you find relationship. Thousands of them.
Človek sa trošku dotkne povrchu ľudskej duše, tak tam proste nájde tisícky vzťahov.
So I want to make a contribution to language.
Chcem urobiť príspevok k tomu, aby sme mali jazyk na to.
And I was thinking about it afresh, which is my duty.
Preto som o tom znovu tak popremýšľal, čo je teda moja povinnosť.
I came up with 3 concentric circles.
Concentric?
Well, overlapping circles.
Aha, tak mi tak prišlo taký obraz, že to sa vlastne, sú to také 3 kruhy, ktoré sa tak navzájom prelínajú.
Which is the minimum you have to consider when you talk about sex, intimacy and relationship.
Teda aspoň tieto 3 oblasti človek musí zvažovať, keď uvažuje o intimite, vzťahoch a sexe.
One circle is I and my soul.
Jeden ten kruh sa týka ako ja a moja duša.
And there was a time when you could separate I from the soul.
Boli časy, kedy sme to mohli oddeliť, mohli sme oddeliť ja od duše.
And some people still do it.
A niektorí ľudia to ešte robia.
And some people think it's ideal.
Niektorí ľudia si myslia, že to je dokonca dobré, že to je ideálne.
And some primitives still think that spiritual striving has got nothing to do with personality, but they have no interest of mine.
Niektorí ľudia si myslia, že duša nemá čo dočinenia s duchovným vývinom, ale Jehudu to nezaujíma.
Don't know about you, my God is personal.
Neviem, ako to vy máte, ale Jehudov Boh je osobný.
Not interested at all in impersonal spirituality, even if Christians and anthroposophists and theologists and theosophists believe that God is somewhere else, not for me.
Nezaujíma ho taká tá neosobná spiritualita, aj keď by si niekto mohol myslieť, že Boh je niekde inde, pre ňoho to nie je zaujímavé.
And that started a long time ago.
A toto začalo už veľa rokov predtým.
The process of bringing the spirit into the personality started about 700 years BC.
Čiže ten proces priniesť svojho ducha, process of bringing spirituality into soul.
Into personality.
Ten proces prinášania toho ducha dovnútra, do osobnosti začal okolo
700 BC to 500 BC.
Začal niekde medzi 700 do 500 rokov pred Kristom.
At the same time, 3 things happened, many things happened, but 3 that I want to point to tonight.
3 veci sa počas toho udiali, alebo potom udiali.
The great Buddha incorporated compassion into spiritual development.
Ten veľký Buddha priniesol súcit do duchovného rozvoja.
The great Socrates incorporated individual thinking to the great Sophia, creating philosophia.
Veľký Sokrates priniesol to ľudské myslenie k blízkosti Sofie, aby mohol vytvoriť spolu to dielo, ktoré nazývame filosofia.
And the great King David at the same time lost his God and was so desperate he created poetry out of it.
A veľký kráľ Dávid v tom čase stratil Boha, alebo stratil spojenie s Bohom a bol z toho tak zúfalý, že vytvoril z toho poéziu.
And if you want a taste of it, listen to the song Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen.
A ak chcete mať nejaký zážitok toho, aká atmosféra z toho vznikla, tak sa započúvajte do tej piesne Leonarda Cohena Hallelujah.
And anybody who think deep enough realize that Leonard Cohen is a reincarnation of King David.
Keď nad tým hlbšie porozmýšľate, tak človek príde na to, že Leonard Cohen bol reinkarnáciou kráľa Dávida.
I'm sure you'll agree with that.
Verím tomu, že by s tým súhlasil.
Listen to Hallelujah.
Započúvajte sa do Hallelujah.
The baffled king composing Hallelujah in absolute despair of becoming a personality.
Ten porazený kráľ, ktorý spieva Hallelujah, ktorý je vlastne what's personality?
Sa vlastne stáva to osobnosťou.
A že zároveň sa pritom stáva osobnosťou.
Losing his God.
Deje sa to preto, lebo stráca Boha.
Have to discover him inside.
A to znamená, že ho musí objavovať niekde vo vnútri.
Practically inventing poetry.
On prakticky vynašiel poéziu.
The baffled king composing Hallelujah.
Porazený kráľ, ktorý skladá Hallelujah.
So for many people, the I and the spirit is somewhere else than the human psyche. Not for me. I'm back with King David and we bring it together.
Ak si ľudia myslia, niektorí ľudia si myslia, že ten duch je niekde inde ako osobnosť, tak ja to tak nemám. Ja som tam, kde je kráľ Dávid a spolu môžeme komponovať Hallelujah.
And this is one circle of the complexity of love, sexuality, intimacy and relationship.
A toto je ten jeden kruh tej komplexity, lásky, sexuality a intimity.
How many of you became attracted to a man or a woman because they touched your soul? Because they made you feel you can be yourself. That really triggered in you the depth of your spirit in your soul and you fell in love.
Koľký z vás ste sa zamilovali do niekoho, pretože sa dotkli vašej duše? Pretože cez tú dušu boli v kontakte s vašim duchom a preto ste boli tak blízko nich.
An angel touched you.
Ako keby sa vás dotkol
And you
anjel.
projected it at a woman.
A on to projektoval na
Well,
ženu.
of course she couldn't live up to it.
A samozrejme, že nedá sa tomuto ustáť takýmto očakávaniam.
An angel wing touched you, you fell in love with a man. You projected the angel at the man, of course he couldn't live up to it.
Aniel lásky sa vás dotkol a vy to projekujete toho aniela na toho muža a samozrejme tomu sa nedá dostať týmto očakávaniam.
8 billion of us will disappoint you.
A 8 miliard z nás by vás sklamalo. Hovorí teraz o mužoch, ktorí sklamávajú pravidelne ženy.
But for a moment she touched the depths of your soul.
Ale na ten krátky okamih sa on dotýka hĺbky vašej duše.
And you welled up and you fell in love.
You what?
Welled up, like a well, like a water in the well.
Okay. A vo vás to vyvrie a vy sa zamilujete.
We don't fall in love with people who love us. Forget about that.
My sa nezamilovávame do ľudí, ktorí sú do nás zamilovaní.
That's a delusion. I love you so much, surely you would love me. No, that's not the economy of attraction at all.
Takže ja ťa tak strašne milujem, zaiste sa aj ty do mňa zamiluješ. Nie, tak toto nefunguje, tak ekonomika príťažlivosti takto nefunguje.
I don't fall in love with people who love me.
Ja sa nezamilovávam do ľudí, ktorí ma milujú.
I appreciate it.
Ja ich oceňujem,
That's not what turned me on.
ale nevzrušuje ma to.
What turns me on is when somebody made me loving.
Ale to, čo ma vzrušuje, je, keď niekto spôsobí, že ja milujem.
And then you can say like the prince of poetry.
A potom môžeš povedať tak ako princ poézie.
And you want to travel with her. And you want to travel blind. And you know that you can trust her, for she touched your perfect body with her mind.
Maybe you can go by.
And you know that you can trust her.
A ty potom budeš vedieť, že jej môžeš dôverovať.
And you want to travel blind.
A chceš s ňou cestovať, hoci aj slepý.
For she touched your perfect body with her mind.
Pretože sa dotýka tvojho dokonalého tela svojou dokonalou myslou.
Yeah. You want to travel with her, and you want to travel blind, and you know that you can trust her, for she touched your perfect body with her mind.
Takže chceš s ňou cestovať? It's very long. Chceš s ňou cestovať, pretože jej dôveruješ, pretože sa dotýka tvojho dokonalého tela svojou myslou.
The spirit of the 60s.
A to je takým duchom 60. rokov.
Leonard Cohen, Suzanne. That's where it started.
A je to pesnička od Leonarda Cohena, volá sa Suzanne a tam to začalo.
So that's the first circle.
Tak toto je ten prvý kruh.
I need somebody to touch me.
Potrebujem niekoho, kto sa ma dotkne.
Will you please touch me?
Prosím ťa, dotkneš sa ma?
And I'm not fully born.
Ja nie som plne narodený.
I'm still an embryo of a human being.
Som stále embryo ľudskej bytosti.
I was born prematurely.
Predčasne som sa narodil.
I'm looking for a womb.
Čakám na maternicu.
Will you be my womb?
Budeš mojou maternicou?
I'm not finished.
Ešte som
I need to be born.
Nie som dokončený, potrebujem sa narodiť.
I'm speaking like a man, I acknowledge that.
Uznávam, že hovorím ako muž.
Mira will compliment me later from a woman's perspective.
Really?
She doesn't know, but she will do it.
Takže Mira vraj bude doplňať niečo zo ženskej perspektívy.
So, I am an embryo of an I, and I want to be born.
Ja som embryo ľudského ja a chcem sa narodiť.
And I'm attracted to the one that can deliver me out of myself, to the one that can birth me, to the one that can remind me of the deeper dimension of me. This is falling in love.
A mňa priťahuje tá, ktorá vo mne zobúdza to, kto som a prináša to sem na svet, aby sa to narodilo. To ma na nej priťahuje.
Just one circle.
A to je jeden z tých kruhov.
The second circle is love.
Ďalší kruh je láska.
And I'm not going to define it.
Ja to nebudem definovať.
But as St. Paul said 2000 years ago, without it, everything is just noise.
A ako povedal svätý Pavol 2000 rokov dozadu, bez toho je to vlastne všetko iba hluk, šum.
Very close to the meaning of life, if life has a meaning.
Je to tá láska je veľmi blízko tomu, čo je zmysel života, ak vôbec život má nejaký zmysel.
And this is bigger than eros.
A láska je viac než len eros.
I am talking about love. What opens the heart and make it grow.
Láska, to, čo otvára srdcia a to, čo nám umožňuje rásť.
What can turn the desert into a garden.
To, čo dokáže premeniť púšť na záhradu.
You lose it, the garden becomes a desert.
Ak to stratíš, tak sa záhrada stáva púšťou.
Or worse, can become a swamp too.
Alebo dokonca sa to môže stať aj močiarom.
What is it? And the word for it in Greek is not eros.
Slovo preto v gréčtine nie je eros.
They didn't have a word for it until the 2nd century.
Nemali na to slovo do 2. storočia.
It was born in the Hellenistic world in Egypt after the birth of Christianity.
Narodilo sa to v tom helenskom svete v Egypte After,
the birth of Christianity.
čiže po narodení sa kresťanstva.
Agape.
A to slovo je agape.
Sacred love.
Je to taká posvetná láska.
Divine love.
Božská láska.
The love that can be so strong you are prepared to sacrifice your life for another.
Tá láska, ktorá je tak silná, že si pripravený obetovať svoj život pre ňu.
It was first used to describe God's love for humanity, sacrificing his only son.
A spočiatku toto slovo bolo použité na to, ako božstvo miluje ľudstvo natoľko, že je ochotné obetovať svojho jediného syna.
So great was God's love for humanity, he sacrificed his only son for that.
Taká obrovská bola Božia láska k ľudstvu, že obetoval svojho jediného syna.
But he never word for it.
Na toto nebolo
Eros was not enough.
No, lebo na to slovo eros nestačí.
Philia, another word for love, was not enough.
Ani filia na to nestačila.
Philia is for camaraderie and human relationship and liking and loving. On a certain level, it's personal. Agape goes beyond that.
Lebo tá filia je vlastne niečo, čo vyjadruje kamarátstvo. Také, že mám ťa rád. Je to taká určitá ľudská blízkosť, ale to ešte stále nie je agape.
If you never fell in love, then leave this room and go fall in love with somebody, will you?
Ak ste sa nikdy nezamilovali, tak prosím vás, zoberte si ten čas a choďte sa zamilovať.
Because you're wasting your time here if you don't know what I'm talking about.
Lebo tu miniete čas, ak neviete, o čom hovorím.
I cannot give it to you.
Toto človeku neviem darovať.
Go fall in love, come back.
Skúste sa ísť zamilovať, vráte
But if
sa.
you did fall in love, you remember.
Lebo ak ste sa zamilovali, tak toto si budete pamätať.
The heart grows so big, you love everybody and everything.
V tom momente, keď ste zamilovaní, vaše srdce narastie do takých rozmerov, že milujete každého a všetko.
At least for a moment.
Aspoň na tú chvíľočku.
And then you think, that's how life was supposed to be.
A tak vtedy si myslíte, že takýto by mal byť ten život.
Why do I go for less than that?
Prečo idem za niečím, čo je menej ako toto?
Indeed, why? Anybody can answer it?
A naozaj, prečo? Je niekto, kto to vie odpovedať na to?
I never found a reason for that.
Ja som nikdy nenašiel dôvody.
I'm completely in love with falling in love all the time.
Ja som zamilovaný do zamilovanosti celý čas.
I don't understand the point of living without love. Never got it.
Nerozumiem, prečo by sme mali žiť bez lásky, nepochopil som to.
A bit old-fashioned, maybe.
Že taký
Juda je staromodný.
staromodný, hej, som
You think I'm
hľadal
a
to
bit-
slovo old-fashioned.
You think I'm a bit retro?
Je taký retro.
Right, yeah? Fine, I don't mind. I was born in the 50s, I don't mind.
Nevadí mu to, lebo bol narodený v 50. rokoch.
I was there with Elvis, you know.
Bol tam s Elvisom.
What do you expect? So, I don't understand why we waste our life without love.
Nerozumie Jehuda tomu, prečo by sme mali míňať svoj život bez lásky.
I do some of it. Some of the waste I do.
Aha, on občas míňa svoj život na niečo.
If you remember moments of being in love, you realize that you come closer to what can be meaning, and we don't wonder about the meaning of life when we're in love, do we?
Bo keď ste zamilovaní, tak prichádzate blízko k tomu, čo je vlastne zmyslom. A keď sme zamilovaní, tak vtedy sa nepýtame, že aký to má zmysel. Či?
Well, maybe in essence, love and meaning is the same thing.
Možno, že tá esencia toho, čo je láska a toho, čo je zmysel, význam, je vlastne to isté.
It's cosmic.
Je to kozmické.
But if it's not personal, it's meaningless.
Ale ak sa to nestane osobným, tak to nemá zmysel. To stráca význam.
Impersonal meaning does not exist.
neosobný význam, nič také neexistuje.
Impersonal love is complete abstraction.
A neosobná láska, tak to už je úplne abstrakcia.
This is personal.
Toto je osobné.
Well, of course it's an aphrodisiac. What do you expect?
A samozrejme, že to je afrodiziakum. Čo
You
očakávate?
don't feel sexual attraction to everyone you love. Luckily, otherwise life would be really chaotic.
Necítite sexuálnu príťažlivosť ku každému, koho máte radi, či?
And
To bolo chaotické.
some people's love is chaotic.
Niektorých ľudí láska býva chaotická.
Elvis had a tent next to one of his performances venue.
Elvis mal stan
Elvis Presley.
blízko miesta, kde mal podujatie, vystúpenie.
And there was a queue of women waiting to see him after the concert.
A že tam bola rada žien, ktoré ho čakali po koncerte.
And they stayed for a while.
A chvíľku tam zostali.
And one of his friends asked him, how do you do this? 6 women in a row?
A jeden priateľ sa ho pýtal, že ako to robíš, že 6 žien za sebou
And you're looking for more?
a ešte čakáš na ďalšie, tešíš sa na ďalšie.
It's easy.
A on povedal, to je ľahké.
Can't you see? They're so different from each other.
Oni sú také rozdielne.
Every one of them in the first time.
S každou som to ako keby poprvýkrát.
That's Eros, one of the closest incarnation of Eros on earth, Elvis.
Takže pre Jehudu sa to zdá, že Elvis Presley bol inkarnáciou Erosa.
So he fell in love with everybody he loved.
On sa zamiloval do každej, ktorú mal rád.
Well,
Z toho
anybody blame him for that?
môžeme ho za to viniť.
He could have lived longer.
Mohol žiť dlhšie.
I'm sorry he didn't live longer.
Je mu to ľúto, že nežil dlhšie.
Great representative of the God of love he was.
Bol to veľký reprezentant Boha lásky.
So, let's move to the third circle.
Poďme sa teda pohnúť k tomu tretiemu kruhu.
I said I and personality,
Takže ten prvý kruh bol ja a osobnosť.
love,
Láska bol druhý kruh.
agape, philia, and eros.
A v rámci tej lásky agape, filia a eros.
Now, friends, the Greek was so much more serious, clear, and scientific about eros.
Gréci boli takí jasní a mali vážne zámery s tým slovom eros alebo s tým bohom eros.
We have philosophia.
My máme filozofiu,
We don't yet have erosophia.
ale ešte nemáme erosofiu.
I hope it will start in my lifetime.
Jehuda dúfa, že sa začne počas jeho života.
Where is erosophia?
Kde je erosofia?
We need it.
Potrebujeme.
We are so primitive about it.
Sme príliš primitívni ohľadom toho.
The third circle was the first one. Eros.
Tretí kruh sa týka erosu. Third circle is
The first
eros.
circle is I and personality.
Yeah, I see.
The second circle is love.
Love and
And the third
first-
circle is eros.
Okay. Takže tretí kruh je eros.
Sex, sexuality,
Sexualita.
erotica,
Erotika.
eros. We used to know much more about it before.
Predtým sme o tomto vedeli o mnoho viac.
2,000 years of sexual repression by the church will take a long time to recover from.
2000 rokov utláčania sexuality od cirkvi budeme mať čo robiť, aby sme sa z toho dostali.
Welcome to Catholic Slovakia.
Vítajte v katolickom Slovensku.
There's a lot of beauty and depth in Catholicism,
Je krása a hĺbka v katolicizme,
but sexual wisdom is not part of it.
ale sexuálna múdrosť tam nie je.
The Greek knew more,
Gréci vedeli o sexualite o mnoho viac.
and it's time to remember.
A je čas, aby sme si na to aj my spomenuli.
So it's interesting the development of the concept of eros in Greek culture.
Je zaujímavé sledovať rozvoj toho pojmu eros v gréckej mytológii.
Eros, God of love.
Eros, boh lásky.
God of sexual love, be specific.
Aby sme boli špecifickí, bol to boh sexuálnej lásky.
A great God.
Veľký boh.
Now, most people think that he was the son of Aphrodite.
Väčšinou si myslíme, že to bol syn Afrodity.
And they always walk together, and he looks younger.
A spolu tak sa prechádzali a on vyzeral mladšie.
He looks younger than anybody.
On vyzerá mladšie ako ktokoľvek iný.
10,000 years from now, Eros will still look younger than anybody.
Ešte aj po 10 000 rokoch boh Eros bude vyzerať mladšie ako ktokoľvek iný.
10,000 years ago, he was younger than everybody. He's always younger.
Vždy je mladší.
So, in the Middle Greek period, he was depicted a son of Aphrodite.
Čiže v prostriedku toho gréckeho obdobia sa maľoval ako syn Afrodity.
Really? Who is the father?
A kto je teda jeho otec?
Nobody knows.
Nikto nevie.
Now we know about children of Aphrodite. She had many lovers.
Vieme, že Afrodita mala veľa milencov.
Everybody wanted to have sex with Aphrodite, like Cleopatra. And they had many children. And then she would be tired. She went to the Basilicum spring, bathed in the spring, became virgin again. Who is next? That's Aphrodite.
A Afrodita mala teda veľa milencov, lebo každý s ňou chcel sa milovať. A potom vlastne už keď bola taká unavená, tak vošla do takých kúpeľov, mala ten kúpeľ a stala sa nanovo pannou.
We know how she started.
Vieme, ako Afrodita vznikla.
Goddess of sexual love, Aphrodite.
Bohyňa sexuálnej lásky.
Aphrodisiac.
Z toho pochádza to slovo afrodiziak.
Hermaphrodite. Everything to do with Aphrodite is sexual love.
Aj hermafrodit. Všetko, čo má spoločné s sexuálnou láskou, tak tam je koreň Afrodity.
But Eros was much earlier than her.
Ale Eros tam bol o mnoho skôr.
He's considered the most ancient god in Olympus.
Jeho považujú za najstarbilejšieho boha na Olympe.
Before anything happened, there was Eros.
Predtým, než sa čokoľvek stalo, tam bol Eros.
And after everything that happens, there will be Eros.
A dokonca aj na konci všetkého bude Eros.
I just read recently an Arabic old proverb.
Nedávno som čítal staré arabské príslovie.
Men think they can secure the future starting another war.
Muži si myslia, že môžu zaistiť budúcnosť tým, že začnú ďalšiu vojnu.
When will they realize the future lies between the legs of a woman?
Future lies?
Between the legs of a woman.
Kedy si uvedomia, že budúcnosť leží medzi nohami ženy?
Not me, the Arabs.
To Arabi hovoria.
They are serious about women.
Sú veľmi vážne berú ženy.
The future is there.
Pretože tam je budúcnosť.
They're so proud of the children, they name themselves after the children.
Sú tak hrdí na svoje deti, že samých seba premenujú po svojom prvom dieťati.
Whatever the name of a woman, she will be renamed after her first daughter.
Akokoľvek sa žena volala, tak sa premenuje po narodení prvej céry.
You could be Fatima, but your daughter is Faiz. You will be called Faiz. Ever since.
Môžeš sa volať Fatima a tvoja dcéra sa volá Faiz a odtedy sa budeš volať Faiz.
You could be Muhammad, but your son is Omar, and your name will be Abu Omar for the rest of your life.
What was his name first?
Okay. Mohammed.
Môžeš byť Mohamed, tvoj syn je Omar a vtedy
Omar.
sa budeš volať Abu Omar.
Because that's the future.
Lebo deti sú budúcnosť.
And they say, find it between the legs of a woman.
No a oni hovoria, že budúcnosť je medzi nohami ženy.
Practical.
Sú praktickí, nie?
Stop these bloody wars, do what matters.
Prestaňte bojovať a začnite robiť to, na čom naozaj záleží.
Eros was there first.
Eros tam bol predtým už ako prvý boh.
Nobody knows the father.
Nikto nepozná jeho otca.
We know Aphrodite's father.
A my vieme, kto bol otcom Afrodity.
There was Uranus, god of the sky.
Bol tam Uranus, bol to boh neba.
His son was Kronos, god of time.
Jeho syn bol Chronos, boh času.
Kronos became too strong for his father.
Chronos sa stal príliš silným na svojho otca.
Uranus put him in a cave to keep him small.
Tak ho zavrel do jaskyne, aby bol maličký.
Gaia didn't like that.
A Gaie sa to nepačilo.
She gave him a sickle. A sickle is a curved knife.
Tak mu dala kosák.
and sent him to kill his father.
A poslala ho zabiť svojho otca.
Kronos found his father drunk and he cut his genitalia.
Chronos našiel svojho otca opitého, tak mu odrezal genitálie.
And the blood and the semen fell into the ocean.
A potom krv a semeno padlo do oceánu.
Creating a storm in the Mediterranean.
A vznikla búrka v tom stredozemí.
Lots of foam.
Veľa peny.
Out of the foam was born Aphrodite.
A z tej peny sa narodila Afrodita.
And she sailed on a shell landing in Cyprus.
A na tej mušli potom plávala a pristála na Cypre.
Well, it's a pretty sexual story now.
No to je taká sexuálna storka však.
That's Aphrodite.
Tak toto je Afrodita.
She adopted Eros.
A ona si adoptovala Eros.
But he was there before. Everybody knew that.
Ale Eros tam bol už predtým.
The power of creation is Eros.
Pretože je to moc stvorenia.
And for the Greek, sexuality and the power of creation were one.
Pretože pre Grékov moc stvorenia a láska boli jedno.
And look at the great artists.
A pozrite sa na tých veľkých umelcov.
And look at the sexual life.
Pozrite sa na ich sexuálny život.
Famous stories.
Sú tam slávne príbehy.
Johann Sebastian Bach had 21 children from 6 wives. Do you know that?
Johann Sebastian Bach mal 21 detí od 6 žien. Vedeli ste to?
Mozart had sex with anybody that moved.
Mozart mal sex s každou, čo sa pohla.
And Beethoven was famous for his sexual life.
Aj Beethoven mal známy sexuálny
He
život.
took a break from time to time writing another symphony and then went back into it.
Čas od času si zobral pauzičku, aby napísal ďalšiu symfóniu a potom sa tam vrátil.
And Michelangelo, they caught him for half a year. Nobody knew what he was doing. No painting for half a year.
A
Michelangelo.
Michelangelo pol roka si zobral pauzu, nikto nevedel, čo robil.
Disappeared.
Stratil sa.
Somebody found out.
A niekto na to prišiel.
He went to Napoli, joined a prostitute for half a year. No painting, no sculpting. He was busy. Then he came back to the Sixtine Capella and kept painting.
Takže pol roka si užil s jednou prostitútkou a potom sa vrátil a maľoval tú Sixtínsku kaplnku.
Shall I continue? At age 70, Goethe proposed marriage to his beloved woman. She was 17-year-old.
Keď mal 70-ku, tak Goethe požiadal o ruku tú mladúčku priateľku, ktorá mala vtedy iba 17 rokov.
With her consent, she wanted to marry him.
Chcela si ho zobrať.
Her mother thought he ought to be told.
Ale na jej mamu on bol príliš starý.
God knows why.
Nevieme prečo.
If you know the life of Goethe, the man was very busy too.
Tak to bol veľmi zaneprázdnený
What I'm
človek.
saying is that creativity and sexuality are connected.
Chcem povedať, že kreativita a sexualita sú spojené.
There's more to do with sex than sex.
Okolo toho sexu je viac než len sex,
It's a creative energy.
pretože je to tvorivá energia.
And Eros was always considered a god of creation.
Eros bol považovaný za boha tvorenia.
And we put sexuality in a box.
A my strkáme tú sexualitu do krabičky.
The Greek wouldn't do that.
A oni by to neurobili Gréci.
One of the most famous Socratean dialogues, The Feast, is all about sex, erotica, and love. All of it.
Jeden z tých známych sokratovských dialogov je o erotike a sexe.
Foundation of Western culture.
A je to základ západnej kultúry.
Interesting. First was Eros.
Takže zaujímavé. Na začiatku bol Eros,
Then was Aphrodite and they worked together.
potom prišla Afrodita a oni spolupracovali.
Then Psyche appeared.
Potom sa objavila Psyché.
And Psyche was a woman.
A Psyché bola žena.
But she was so beautiful, Aphrodite became jealous.
A bola tak krásna, že Afrodita bola žiarlivá.
She sent Eros to shoot an arrow, hoping that she will fall in love with some donkey or an ugly man.
A ona poslala Erosa, aby strelil šíp do jej srdca a dúfala, že sa Psyché zamiluje do nejakého somára alebo nejakého škaredého muža.
But when he came and he saw her, he fell in love with her.
Ale on sa do nej zamiloval.
So he woke her up and she saw him, and this was one of the most famous love stories in the world, Eros and Psyche.
On ju prebudil, ona sa do ňoho zamilovala a to bol jeden z najznámejších milostných príbehov Eros a Psyche.
Psyche was not happy with that.
Psyche sa to moc nepáčilo.
She gave a hard time like every mother-in-law would.
Psyche didn't like it? Who didn't like it?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Aphrodite didn't like Psyche,
Yes.
being the lover of her beloved Eros.
Takže Afrodite sa nepáčilo, že Psyche je zamilovaná do jej milovaného syna,
She was already more beautiful than Aphrodite.
pretože bola skutočne krajšia ako Afrodite.
She was a mortal human being, princess.
A bola to zároveň smrteľná ľudská bytosť, princezná.
If she united with Eros, she would become a goddess.
Ak by sa spojila s Érom, tak by sa stala princeznou, nesmrteľnou ženou.
She gave a hard time.
Tak jej dala ťažké skúšky.
She stood all the tests.
Ona ustála všetky tie skúšky.
And she became goddess.
Stala sa bohyňou.
Psyche became goddess.
Psyche sa stala bohyňou.
Now, if there's any man listening to this talk who never experienced for a moment that the woman you fell in love with is a goddess, then you didn't really fall in love yet. So look forward, it will still happen.
Ak je tu nejaký muž, ktorý nikdy ešte nezažil, že jeho žena, do ktorej sa zamiluje, sa stane pre neho bohyňou, tak sa vlastne ešte nikdy nezamiloval.
I don't need to check it. All men will understand this.
Myslím si, že to nemusím ani overovať. Myslím, že všetci muži by tomu mali rovnako.
Really love a woman, she becomes goddess to you.
Ak skutočne miluješ ženu, stáva sa pre teba bohyňou.
At least in some special moments.
Aspoň na nejaké špeciálne momenty.
Making love to a woman is a religious act of unity across the separation. Don't believe anything else.
Milovanie so ženou je obrovským aktom spojenia.
And for a moment,
Ničomu inému.
for a moment, life is what it was supposed to be.
A aspoň na chvíľočku sa ten život stáva takým, ako mal byť.
Here's Leonard Cohen describing this moment of sexual unity.
Leonard Cohen popisuje tie momenty sexuálneho spojenia.
And the blessing comes from heaven.
Požehnanie prichádza z neba.
And for something like a second,
A na niečo také ako sekunda
I was cured.
bol som vyliečený.
And my heart was at ease.
A moje srdce bolo uľahčené.
And if a man has not experienced this with a woman, you haven't really fallen in love yet.
Ak sa mužovi toto nestalo, ak sa nezamiloval takto do ženy, tak sa ešte nezamiloval.
How to tell you that you are goddess for us?
Ako to povedať vám, ženám, že ste pre nás bohyne?
Peter, they don't get it, do they?
Nechápu to však.
They don't really get it.
Nedochádza im to.
You know what I'm talking about?
Vieš, o čom hovorím?
Je to ťažké vysvetliť.
It's very difficult to explain that.
I didn't check it up with Peter. I knew he would understand it.
Ja som si to s ním neoveroval a predsa som vedel, že tomu rozumie.
All men know it.
Všetci muži to vedia.
You are goddess for us.
Ste pre nás bohyne.
And sexual unity with you is a sacred act of restoration.
A sexuálne spojenie je to ako akt obnovy.
Pavel, you know what I'm talking about?
Pavel, vieš, o čom hovorím?
Of course he does.
Jasné, že vie.
He's a living man.
Živý muž.
Women don't get it, do they?
Ženy to nechápu.
Well, let's keep trying, hey?
Poďme to skúšať.
Maybe they will get it one day.
Možno to jedného dňa pochopia.
And that's why to lose you is to lose goddess.
Preto stratiť vás je ako stratiť bohyňu.
There is nothing like just sex. There is nothing like that.
Nie je nič také ako že iba sex.
There's a great Netflix series called Anatomy of a Scandal.
Na Netflixe je taká séria, ktorá sa volá, že Anatómia škandálu.
I recommend it.
Ľuda odporúča.
Very British. Very, very, very British.
Veľmi také britské to je.
Well, when the Brits are doing sex, it's really exciting, you know, because it's really difficult for them.
Keď Briti robia sex, tak je to úžasné, pretože je to pre nich skutočne ťažké.
She knows what I'm talking about.
Sa vie, o čom hovorím.
They do it.
Robia to.
But it's really difficult for them to talk about it.
Ale strašne ťažké sa oni o tom rozprávať.
But when they do a movie about it,
ale keď o tom robia film,
it's potent.
Tak to má silu.
And so this minister of British government was caught having an affair with his research secretary.
Minister nejakej vlády bol prichytený, že mal aférku s nejakou sekretárkou výskumu.
And after half a year of doing it, it was discovered, became news.
Po pol roku, ako mali tú aférku, tak sa to objavilo a stalo sa to novinkou.
So he stopped it.
Takže prestali.
He had to meet his wife.
Musel sa stretnúť so ženou.
And he was in love with his wife.
Mal rád svoju ženu.
What can he say?
Môžeš povedať, že nie.
Where was it? They caught them in the lift.
Prichytili ich vo výťahu.
In the lift in Westminster.
Vo Westminstre.
That was not a very British thing to do, Tessa.
To nebolo
in the bloody lift between floors in Parliament House. Anyway, she asked him, how many times did you do it in a hotel? He said, I don't know, 20, 30 times. She was in total shock.
Takže manželka sa pýta, že koľkokrát ste to robili v hoteli, tak 20-30 krát bola úplne šokovaná.
And then he says, but it was just sex.
A on povedal, však to bol len sex.
I love you completely, it was just sex.
Teba milujem, ale to bol len sex.
She's doing this and she says, there's nothing like just sex.
Tak, pokrutila hlavu a hovorí, nič také ako len sex neexistuje.
So I don't think there's anything like just sex.
Jehuda sa pridáva, že ani on tomu neverí, že existuje niečo.
In the name of the great Eros, I hereby declare there's nothing like just sex.
V mene veľkého boha Eros deklarujem, že neexistuje nič ako len sex.
And there's nothing trivial and small about sex.
Ohľadom sexu nie je nič triviálne alebo malé.
Oh yes, people can trivialize everything.
Ľudia môžu všetko trivializovať.
People can shit in the temple. That doesn't mean it's not a temple.
Dá sa aj znesvetiť chrám, ešte neznamená, že to nie je chrám.
It's a temple. And I think we still underestimate Eros.
Myslím si, že podceňujeme Eros.
We hardly talk about it really.
A v podstate o tom veľmi málo hovoríme.
The technical side of sex is 1% of what's going on.
Ale tá technická stránka sexu, to je vlastne len 1%.
Okay, there is a technical side of sex.
Dobre, tak je technická stránka sexu?
Really, you don't need me for that. Go read somewhere there's so much about it.
Na to ma nepotrebujete.
But it's like a tip of an iceberg of what sex is.
Ale to je len taký ten vrcholček ľadovca.
Where do I start? It's a power of creation still now, not only in ancient times.
A doteraz je to vlastne tá moc tvorenia. To nebolo len v tých starobilých časoch.
I mean, Sigmund Freud explained the whole of human culture as sublimation of sexuality.
Sigmund Freud vysvetlil celú ľudskú kultúru ako sublimáciu sexuality.
Was he trivializing culture? Or was he ennobling sexuality? You decide.
Ennobling.
Making it noble.
Trivializoval ľudskú kultúru, alebo tak zveličoval sexualitu.
So, the negative Freud trivialized culture, and the great Freud ennoblized sexuality.
Ten negatívny Freud vlastne trivializoval kultúru a ten veľký Freud tak zveličil sex.
In 19th century Vienna.
V tom 19. storočí vo Viedni.
Speaking about sex in Vienna in the 19th century, you know, that's real courage.
Mal vlastne vtedy obrovskú odvahu, lebo hovoriť vo Viedni o sexualite v tom 19. storočí, to chce naozaj odvahu.
It was helpful, he was not Catholic.
Bolo veľmi užitočné, že nebol katolík.
It was helpful. You know, he was Jewish.
Viete, že bol Žid.
A bit easier for Jews because they think sex is very important.
Je to pre Židov jednoduchšie, pretože si myslia, že sex je dôležitý.
In the Jewish tradition, sex is not sin.
Lebo v židovskej tradícii sex nie je hriech.
It's a duty.
Je to povinné.
You have to have sex with your wife at least once a week on Friday night. Minimum.
Potrebujete, alebo musíte mať sex so svojou ženou aspoň v piatok večer, to minimálne.
A woman go to the rabbi and say he didn't have sex with me for half a year. It's a cause for divorce.
Ak žena sa príde sťažovať rabinovi, že sa pol roka s ňou manžel nemiloval, tak sa môže rozviesť.
Sexual rights of women is encoded in the Bible.
Sexuálne práva ženy sú vpečatené do Biblie.
You can divorce a woman,
Môžeš sa rozvieť so ženou.
but you have to continue provide for her needs.
Ale môžeš sa rozvieť so ženou, ale musíš pokračovať v zabezpečovaní jej potrieb.
Food,
Stravu,
clothing,
oblečenie,
and housing,
obydlie
and sex.
a sex.
You should keep providing that because she has a right for it.
Na toto treba pokračovať s tým, pretože má na to právo.
She can say no,
Môže povedať,
but it has to be on offer.
ale musí to byť ponúknuté.
It's a duty.
Tak
So it was easier for Freud coming from this tradition to speak about sex. You understand?
Bolo jednoduchšie pre Freuda, ktorý pochádzal z tejto tradície, aby rozprával o sexe.
Freud was not shallow.
Freud nebol plytký.
He was a very deep person.
Bola to hlboká
He
osobnosť.
introduced the possibility, the reality of psyche.
Predoslal možnosti reality psyché
You remember Eros the Great as a source of creation.
a pamätal na to, že Eros je vlastne zdroj tvorby.
Well, you can take it in a narrow way or you can take it in a broad way.
Človek to môže zobrať takým plytkým spôsobom, alebo to môže zobrať zo šírky.
Eros became Aphrodite. Aphrodite became Psyche.
Eros sa stal Afroditou a Afrodita sa stala Psyché.
Psyche will unite with Eros.
Ak sa Psyché spojí s Eros,
They will have a child.
budú mať dieťa
Happiness.
a to dieťa bude šťastie.
So what happens before
Tak
they
čo,
unite?
čo sa stane predtým, než sa spoja?
Bloody misery.
No, je to strašné.
Otherwise known as human existence. Separation.
Je to niečo, čo sa nazýva ľudská existencia, je to vlastne oddelenosť.
We separated.
My sme oddelení
We are longing to become one again.
a dúfame v to, že sa znovu spojíme.
I want to speak a little bit about the erotis.
Chcel by som trošku hovoriť o erotis.
Erotis is a pamalia of Eros and Aphrodite. They had a whole community of erotis. It was not just one Eros. There was a whole community of them.
Bola celá komunita, nebol len jeden Eros, bola celá komunita okolo Erosa a Afrodite.
And when I read it again, I realized I miss all these words. Where is all these words? We are so dull in our language. They had language for erotis.
Takže Gréci mali jazyk, ktorým sa vedeli v tomto zmysle vyjadrovať.
I'm not sure I pronounce this right. I want to tell you some of the vocabulary of Eros.
Takže má nejaké slová, ktoré nevie, či presne vysloví, ale skúsi.
So this Eros, the god of sexual love,
Takže je Eros, boh sexuálnej lásky
and of all human creativity.
a ľudskej kreativity.
And then there is one of his companionship.
A potom má jedného spoločníka.
And all these companionship, some of them are children of Aphrodite and Ares. Some of them are children of Aphrodite and Mercury. Some of them are children of Eros and some nymph. They're all complicated family relationships.
To sú také komplikované vzťahy, lebo teda Afrodita mala veľa detí s veľa bohmi, s Marsom, s Aresom, s Merkurom a podobne.
Each one of them is an archetype.
A každý z nich je archetypom.
One is called Antiros.
Jeden je Antiros.
Antiros is a god of requited love, of love that is responded to, of reciprocal love.
Antiros je boh lásky, ktorá je že sa recipročná, že sa
It's called in English requited love.
Že vzájomná láska.
Mutual falling in love.
Taká spoločné zamilovanie.
And mutually falling in lust.
A vzájomné, akože také zamilovanie sa do toho sexuálnej lásky.
Mutual and fulfilled sexual desire for each other.
Naplnená sexuálna túžba.
heaven,
Proste to je nebo.
bliss. But Antiros, he was quite vengeful. If you don't respond in love to love, he will punish you.
A on bol taký, že sa snažil potrestať každého, kto neodpovie láskou na lásku.
To bring up sexual love in a woman and not fulfilling it is cruel, and he will punish you.
Že vlastne vydvihnúť alebo zobudiť túžbu v žene a neodpovedať na to, to je kruté. Tak on ťa potrestá.
To bring up sexual desire in a man and not responding to it is cruel, and he will punish you.
Že zobudiť sexuálnu túžbu v mužovi, to je kruté a preto ťa za to ten Boh potrestá.
Any argument with that?
Keď na to neodpovieš svojho.
It's cruel, isn't it?
No je to kruté, nie?
Yes? Yes. That's Antiros.
To bol teda Antiros.
Then there's another one, I hope I pronounce it right. Hedilogos.
Hedilogos?
Hedilogos. And there's logos in there.
V tom je to slovo logos.
Sweet talk.
Také sladké rečičky.
Flattery.
Omámeť niekoho.
Romanticism.
Romantika.
Being sweet.
Medové motúzy.
Flirtatious. Alluring. The love of flirting.
To, čo sa volá, že flirtovanie.
Well, maybe all our stories start that way, some stay there.
Možno niektoré naše vzťahy takto začali a niektoré takto aj skončia.
So the Greek had a name for flirting.
Takže mali na to Gréci slovo na to flirtovanie.
And then there's a great Hermaphrodite.
A potom máme hermafroditu.
Hermaphrodite. So I said that love is a release from suffering, and the suffering is a separation of the sexes.
Čiže láska je uvoľnenie z toho utrpenia a tým utrpením sa myslí to oddelenie tých pohlaví.
And the bliss of sexual unity is for a moment. For a moment we are one again.
A to požehnanie tej sexuálnej toho spojenia je vlastne to, že sme na chvíľočku jedným.
And if some of you had some great sexual experiences, you know what I'm talking about.
A keď ste mali niektorí úžasné sexuálne skúsenosti, viete, o čom hovorím.
There's nothing like that.
Nič sa tomu nevyrovná.
Maybe the most healthy activity human beings are capable of is mutual sexual fulfillment together.
Čiže možno, že taká najlepšia, tá najzdravšia aktivita, ktorú môžeme ako ľudia robiť, je vlastne tá vzájomná sexuálna láska.
The longing for unity through the separation.
Tá túžba po spojení cez to prepojenie, to oddelenie.
More than magnetic.
Je to viac ako magnetické.
It's nuclear.
To je nukleárne.
Fusion energy.
Energia fúzie.
Well, there were a couple, son of Aphrodite plus a nymph, who fell in love with each other so much they decided to unite. They became one.
Son of whom?
Aphrodite?
Son of Aphrodite plus nymph.
Plus nymph. They fell in love with each other so desperately they decided to become one.
Syn Afrodity sa spojil s jednou nymfou, tak veľmi sa milovali, že sa rozhodli, že budú jedna bytosť.
And they became man and woman in one.
A stali sa dokonca mužo ženou.
The future of humanity is that.
Pravdepodobne budúcnosť ľudstva je
We shall not stop having sex until this happens.
Nemáme prestať mať sex, až kým sa nám toto nestane.
We will keep trying again and again until for one moment it happens.
Budeme to skúšať znovu a znovu, až kým sa to nestane.
And the blessing comes from heaven.
A požehnanie prichádza z
And
neba.
for something like a second,
A na niečo ako sekunda
I was cured.
bol som vyliečený.
And my life for the tears.
A
My heart for the tears.
moje srdce bolo uľahčené.
This power of unity through separation, this creates civilization.
Táto sila toho zjednotenia, toho spojenia, toho oddelenia, tak tá vytvára civilizácie.
And then there's hymnos.
And we have
And I'm sorry, Himeros. Himeros.
already 1 hour.
I don't know, Himeros.
Takže ďalší boh bol Himeros.
Himeros is unrequited love, disappointed love, frustrated love, love that doesn't find response, the torture of it. That's himeros.
Takže to bola vlastne tá sklamaná láska, ktorá nenachádza odpoveď, čiže to je tá láska, ktorá prináša utrpenie.
It's a God.
Aj to je Boh.
They had place for that.
Mali na to miesto.
They had name for it.
Mali na to meno.
And then there was Hymen.
A potom Hymon.
Hymen is the God of marriage celebration.
A Hymon je Boh oslavy manželstva.
I didn't have time to do the research philologically, but I'm sure it's connected to Haman. Haman is Haman. Virginity. Virginity.
Virginity.
Yes, Haman.
Panenstvo.
First act of making love, you break it.
Aha, čiže také, akože je to nejakým spôsobom spojené s panenstvom.
And marriage was not supposed to happen after, but before it happens.
Takže manželstvo bolo spojené s tým prelomením panenstva.
Haman, the god of marriage ceremonies.
Čiže ten, čo oslavuje manželské zväzky.
People are still doing it.
Viete, že to ľudia ešte robia.
Unbelievable.
Neuveriteľné.
The most irresponsible decision in life.
Také najviac nezodpovedné rozhodnutie v živote.
I would be married to you for life.
Na celý život si ťa beriem.
What are you doing? Do you know who you will be next year? Do you know who she will be in 5 years? You know who you will be in 10 years? What kind of decision is that?
Čo to robíte? Viete, kým sa ona stane za pár rokov? Kým vy budete za pár rokov?
Totally irresponsible decision.
Že to je nezodpovedné riešenie.
No risk assessment at all.
Nikto nepredikuje tie rizika.
Minimum assessment, little check-up, and being flooded with projection, and nobody can live up to these expectations.
Takže len tak trošku si to overíme, potom tam máme kopec projekcií a ideme do toho.
For life?
Na celý život.
Totally irresponsible.
Je to nezodpovedné.
But we keep doing it.
Ale stále to robíme.
We did it.
A my sme to tiež urobili.
Took a while, we did it. Because of the God, Haman. The God of marriage celebration, it is such a powerful gesture, irresistible.
Že ten boh Hymon je má také úžasné gestá, že tomu sa nedá odolať.
And then there's God Photus.
Photus.
Longing. Just longing.
A potom je tam ten boh, ktorý sa týka túžby.
Look at Photus in Wikipedia, you see the image of this God. He is so beautiful.
A ten boh je taký prekrásny.
Just longing.
Len tak túži.
The beauty of longing. Take it away, there is no poetry.
Ak by sme nemali túžbu, tak by sme nemali žiadnu poéziu.
And then there's Thomas.
Thomas?
Yeah, jealousy.
A to je žiarlivosť.
Cannot have a love story without that, can you?
Bez žiarlivosti moc nesedí, nejde.
So even without Aphrodite, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 names for love. Now we are talking some vocabulary.
Takže tu máme nejakých 10 slov pre lásku, teda máme nejaký slovník.
Okay, this is the third circle.
Tak to bol ten tretí cyklus.
I hope it can enrich your imagination of Eros.
Takže dúfam, že to trošku obohatilo vašu predstavu o tom, čo je Eros.
As she said in this movie, there's nothing like just sex. Forget it.
Nie je nič také ako len sex, zabudni.
Eros is not just the past.
Pretože Eros nie je v minulosti.
Eros is the future too.
On je to aj budúcnosť.
Creation is not finished.
Pretože tvorba sa nedokončila.
There's still much more raw material in us than artistic creation.
Stále ešte je v nás veľa takej suroviny, z ktorej sa dá tvoriť.
They say that in the time of the Maitreya Buddha,
Hovoria, že v čase Maitreya Budhu
the larynx will become organ of reproduction of children.
Že to hrdlo, hrtan sa stane nástrojom reprodukcie budúcej generácie.
They say that in the time of the fulfillment of Michaelic culture, the heart will become the new brain.
A že keď sa naplní michaelská kultúra, tak sa srdce stane novým mozgom.
So, what do we need sex for?
Tak na čo potrebujeme sex?
The larynx will become the new uterus.
Hrdlo alebo hrtán sa stane novými pohlavnými orgánmi.
The heart will become the center of intelligence.
A srdce sa stane centrom inteligencie.
The brain will be out completely.
Mozog nám odíde.
It's half dead already.
Už nám aj tak odchádza.
What is the future of sexuality?
Čo je teda budúcnosť sexuality?
Don't go to Steiner, he doesn't say so.
Steiner o tom nič nehovorí.
What to do? He died in 1924. It's fine. It's difficult to publish after that.
No, už nám odišiel v tom 1925, tak potom už nemal ako publikovať.
So I'm free.
Tak
I'm free to speculate, yes?
môžem špekulovať.
And let me tell you, ala Yehuda, what is the future of sexuality?
Takže Jehuda si takto vymyslel, že čo je budúcnosť sexuality.
The heart will be busy doing intelligence.
Že srdce bude zamestnané inteligenciou.
Who will replace the heart?
A kto nahradí srdce?
Our sexuality is a new heart.
Naša sexualita je nové srdce.
I am convinced about it.
Ja som o tom presvedčený.
The future of human sexuality is a new heart.
Budúcnosť ľudskej sexuality je nové srdce.
And for some of us, it's already starting now.
A pre niektorých z nás sa to tak už deje.
There is heart in men's sexuality.
Je srdce v mužskej sexualite.
Yes, Peter?
Je tak?
When will they get it?
Kedy to pochopia?
There is sex in the depth of woman's heart.
A je tam... What?
There is heart in the depths of men's sexuality, and there is sex in the heart of women's sexuality.
Sexualita je v srdci ženy?
I'll say it again. It is complicated. You want to come to a woman, to a man's heart. Go deep enough into man's sexuality, you will find the heart.
OK, čiže keď človek chce ísť bližšie k srdcu muža, tak musí ísť cez sexualitu, že tam sa to mužské srdce nachádza.
That's a corridor.
To je vstupná brána.
But we have to go deep enough.
Ale človek musí ísť dostatočne hlboko.
There is a heart in man's sexuality.
Je srdce v mužskej sexualite.
And if you didn't find it, you didn't look deep enough.
A keď ste to nenašli, tak ste nehľadali dostatočne hlboko.
And there's no man in existence who will disagree with me.
A muži so mnou budú súhlasiť.
I don't need to check it out.
Nemusím to ani overovať.
And there is sex in the depths of human heart, woman's heart.
A je sex v hĺbke ženského srdca.
And after the mid-30s, you just don't get there if you don't go through the heart.
Aha. A človek, že muž sa k tej sexualite ženskej nedostane, ak nejde cez jej srdce.
Maybe in the mid-20s,
Som to pochopila.
there can still be...
Ženská sexualita je uprostred jej srdca. Čiže keď muž nejde cez ženské srdce, tak sa do tej sexuality nedostane. Now I understood that.
Good, good, good. It's not too slow, it's good.
I'm sorry.
Now, what is this? A piece of meat?
Tak toto je kus mesa.
An instrument of biological mechanism?
Je to nejaký nástroj biologického
What is
mechanizmu.
this?
Čo je toto?
It's a soul.
Je to duša.
A woman body is a soul.
Ženské telo je duša.
You want to touch a woman's body?
Chceš sa dotknúť ženského tela,
You have to know
musíš vedieť,
you're touching a soul.
že sa dotýkaš duše.
And they know it.
A oni to vedia.
At least from the mid-30s onwards, they know it.
Aspoň od 30-ky ďalej ženy to vedia.
When will the men realize it?
Kedy to pochopia aj muži?
Oj, oj, oj. They need help. We need help.
Potrebujeme pomoc.
I'm lucky because my mother was admired by my father.
Mám šťastie, pretože moja mama bola môj otec obdivoval moju mamu.
He was completely in love with her.
Bol do nej úplne zamilovaný.
They were very different people. It didn't work. They tried to live separately. It didn't work. They got together.
Snažili sa žiť oddelene, nefungovalo to, tak sa dali dokopy.
I'm a child of passion.
Ja som dieťaťom vášne.
They sacrificed a lot to be together.
Veľa obetovali, aby mohli byť spolu.
My father admired her.
Môj otec ju obdivoval.
He looked up to her.
Vzhliadal k nej.
But that's how I was brought. My first man looked up to a woman. That's what I do ever since.
Takto som bol vychovaný. Môj prvý muž vzhliadal ku svojej žene a ja to robím odvtedy.
I don't accept everything automatically from my parents.
A ja neakceptujem automaticky všetko od mojich rodičov,
That's what I do.
ale toto som prijal.
So I look up to women.
Takže ja vzhliadam k ženám.
I love women's power.
Milujem ženskú silu.
I find it very attractive.
Zdá sa mi veľmi atraktívna.
I expect women to be leaders. That's what my mother was.
Očakávam, že ženy budú vodkyňami,
Artist and poet.
a umelkyňami a poetkami, tak ako moja mama.
So I look up to them.
Tak k ním vzhliadam.
So they trust me.
Tak mi dôverujú.
So they tell me the secrets.
Potom mi povedia tajomstvá.
So I'm informed.
Tak som informovaný.
Because they tell me the secrets.
Lebo mi hovoria tajomstvá.
So women and men, you want to develop better relationship for next generation.
Tak, muži a ženy, chcete si vybudovať lepšie vzťahy po budúce generácie?
Develop self-esteem.
Vybudujte si seba uvedomenie,
Self-respect in women.
seba rešpekt pre ženy
And empathy in men.
a empatiu pre mužov.
To move from looking at a woman from outside to looking at a woman from inside.
Aby boli schopní sa posunúť na nazeranie ženy zvonku do nazerania ženy z jej vnútra.
Here's the secret, school of empathy.
Takže milá škola empatie, tuto je to tajomstvo.
Empathy is an aphrodisiac.
Empatia je afrodiziakom.
Don't believe anything else.
Ničomu inému neverte.
Try.
Vyskúšajte.
I think I said enough.
Myslím, že som povedal dosť.
I could speak about sexual therapy, sexual healing. I've done so much of that.
Mohol by som hovoriť veľa o sexuálnej terapii, o liečení sexuality.
I can do something about it if there's request.
Môžeme niečo s tým hovoriť, ak budete mať v tomto smere nejakú požiadavku.
We do sexual healing a lot in psychophonetics.
V psychofonetike robíme sexuálne liečenie.
Why? Because sexuality is wounded.
Prečo? Lebo sexualita je zvyčajne zranená.
Human sexuality is wounded.
Ľudská sexualita je zranená.
Men and women.
Aj mužská, aj ženská.
So we have to offer ambulancia.
Tak ponúknuť ambulanciu.
Most of the healing is just clearing it from what it's not, letting sexuality be what it is.
Väčšina toho liečenia je to, že očistíme tú sexualitu od toho, čo sexualita nie je, aby mohla byť tým, čím je.
I can talk about it if you want to.
Most
Most of sexual healing is clearing sexuality from what it is not.
Dá sa o tom veľa hovoriť, pretože liečenie sexuality znamená, že musíme ju očistiť od toho, čím sexualita nie je.
Giving it a chance to be what it is.
Aby sme jej dali šancu, aby mohla byť tým, čím naozaj je.
Discovering what it is.
Aby sme jej mohli objavovať.
Most of sexual healing has to do with healing the relationship between a woman and her own sexuality.
Väčšina toho liečenia sa týka liečenia vzťahu ženy a jej vlastnej liečenia vzťahu ženy a jej vlastnej sexuality.
Encouraging more intimacy between a man and his own sexuality.
Alebo povzbudenie k väčšej intimite medzi mužom a jeho vlastnou sexualitou.
Men are behind in sexual development.
Muži sú trošku pozadu v sexuálnom rozvoji.
It's just a fact.
To je fakt.
I don't say it critically.
A to nehovorím kriticky.
95% of women know what you mean when you say sexuality.
95% žien vie, čo máte na mysli, keď poviete sexualita.
95% of men don't know what you mean when you say sexuality.
A naopak 95% mužov nevie, čo tým myslíte.
Just a statistical fact.
Štatisticky.
Hey, they know a lot about sex.
Vedia o sexe.
Sexual technique, sexual stuff. Sexuality is not sex.
Sexuálnych technikách a veciach, ktoré sa toho týkajú, ale sexualita nie je sexuálna
But you
technika.
cannot have any sexual development if you don't wake up to sexuality being a reality in itself that has a life apart from having sex or not having sex.
Ale nemôžete o sexualite nič vedieť, ak sa nestanete bdelým, že sexualita je bytosť sama o sebe, či už máte alebo nemáte sex.
My sexual relationship with my lover does not depend on how many times we have sex per week.
Čiže môj sexuálny vzťah k mojej milenke nezávisí od toho, ako veľakrát spolu máme sexuálny styk.
Having sex helps,
Ono to pomáha,
but sexuality does not depend on it.
ale sexualita od toho nezávisí.
Not even sexual relationship depends on it.
Ani sexuálny vzťah od toho nezávisí.
So, we need to heal the misunderstandings, the misinformation, the sickness, the abuse, the crudeness, the insensitivity about human sexuality.
Musíme vyliečiť všetky tie nedorozumenia, všetky tie pokrivenia, tie krutosti, to, čo sa vlastne nabalilo na sexualitu.
Counselors, you want to be ready for that?
Kancelári, chcete byť na to pripravení?
Start from yourself.
Tak začnite od seba.
Enter deeper relationship with your sexuality, and the more you look, the more you will find.
Vstúpte hlbšie do vzťahu s vlastnou sexualitou a čím viac sa tomu budete venovať, tým viac budete vedieť.
It's not enough to have sex.
Nestačí mať sex.
You have to understand what you're doing when you're having sex.
Musíte rozumieť tomu, čo robíte, keď máte
You have to
sex.
enter it deeper and deeper, and you will discover a whole world in there.
Musíte vstúpiť hlbšie a hlbšie a celý svet tam objavíte.
I want to finish with a quotation from Steiner.
Chcem ukončiť citátom od Steinera.
Goethe wrote a play called Faust, Part 1 and Part 2.
Goethe napísal hru, nazval ju Faust a malo to prvú časť a druhú časť.
And if you didn't read it, you have to read it sometime before you finish this seminar.
A študentom odporúča, aby to prečítali pred koncom semináru.
The second year without Faust is okay, third year not okay.
Druhý ročník bez Fausta sa ešte dá, ale už v treťom ročníku ho budete musieť čítať.
And nobody graduates from the fourth year without reading Brother Karamazov of Dostoevsky, but that's another matter. Faust is absolutely obligatory.
Takže treba si prečítať Fausta.
And Faust took him 60 years to write.
A trvalo 60 rokov, kým Fausta napísal.
He wasn't lazy, it took him 60 years.
Nebol lenivý, ale fakt mu to zabralo 60 rokov.
And somebody posed the question, how could a man, any man, enter the inner nature of this woman in the play, the woman in Faust? What's her name?
Margareta.
Margareta. How could Goethe, being a man, understand Margareta with such intense intimacy? Only a woman can write it.
Niekto položil takú otázku, že ako mohol muž, akýkoľvek muž, vstúpiť tak hlboko do porozumenia ženy, ako sa to podarilo Goethemu v Faustovi, že ako sa to dalo, však to nemohol muž takto hlboko porozumieť prírodzenosti ženy. To musela žena napísať.
And Steiner, who didn't speak a lot about sex because people couldn't bear it in the early 20th century,
Steiner nehovoril veľa o sexe, lebo ľudia to nevedeli pobrať na začiatku toho 20. storočia.
he had no problem with the topic, he had lovers,
On mal s tým problém, pretože mal nejaké milenky,
but people didn't let him talk about it much, so he wouldn't.
tak ľudia ho nenechali o tom veľa rozprávať, tak nerozprával.
But this one he did answer.
Ale na toto odpovedal.
He said Goethe was capable of having sex and observing it at the same time.
Hovoril, že Goethe sa mohol milovať so ženou a zároveň to pozorovať.
Most people either have sex or observe.
Väčšina ľudí buď má sex alebo pozoruje.
Goethe could do both at the same time.
Goethemu sa to darilo naraz.
That gave him empathy with a woman.
A preto mohol mať empatiu so ženou.
He could empathize with a woman in the middle of a sexual act.
Mohol empatizovať so ženou uprostred sexuálneho styku.
How many men can do that?
Koľko veľa mužov to dokáže?
Well, such men can write Faust.
Tak taký muž dokáže napísať Fausta.
I rest my case.